It's finally happened. The biggest rocket, Starship, burns up in the atmosphere for the third time. Was it a success? You'll have to watch the video to find out. Welcome back to your favorite channel, The Door to the Universe. Let's dive right in. Here's what you'll get to know in this video. In the latest SpaceX launch, Starship faced a thrilling journey with moments of success and moments of challenge. While Booster 10's attempted water landing encountered issues, Ship 28 showcased advancements, successfully shutting down its engines and testing its payload bay. Despite setbacks, SpaceX remains resilient with plans for future launches and investigations into mishaps. Let's see how it all actually happened. After nearly 4 months of waiting, the third Starship took to the sky, and as always, its flight was filled with emotions. But the real question is, how did they achieve this success? Starship launches consistently evolve into gripping rocket thrillers. A few days before the launch, SpaceX faced a daunting list of tasks to complete. But now the team shifted into high gear and faced each item with remarkable efficiency. The process commenced with a Ship 29 static fire speed run, which unfortunately did not proceed as smoothly as anticipated. Much to everyone's surprise, the prototype was transported to the suborbital site on February the 29th, swiftly progressing to Pad B, the sole remaining test pad at the facility. SpaceX was eager to complete its test campaign before liftoff, and by March the 7th, the prototype's tank began to be filled with liquid oxygen. Initially, everything appeared to be proceeding smoothly for a successful spin prime test until Ship 29 was unexpectedly detanked. If they didn't revert to conducting simple cryogenic tests, the spin prime would remain unsuccessful. But here we are talking about the launch of SpaceX for the third time. So just 4 days later, they pressed forward with another attempt. After rapid liquid oxygen fill this time, a successful spin prime was carried out shortly afterward. While this test probably went smoothly, engineers had to shift their attention to the third Starship, leading to the prototype's removal from Pad B the next day. A few hours later, the prototype was transported back to the production site, where it will remain until SpaceX addresses the aftermath of the launch. With all preparations complete, the stage was set for the long-awaited launch. As Thursday dawned, a section of the highway was closed off, ensuring the area was devoid of people and secured for the launch. Shortly after, activity at the orbital tank farm began, indicating the beginning of the cooling process preceding the fueling of the Starship. As the launch window approached, the situation appeared unfavorable. There were no indications of propellant being pumped into the Starship's tanks. Later on, it was confirmed that the tanking process had to be postponed due to the presence of boats in the keep-out area. Consequently, propellant loading into Booster 10 began at T-minus 53 minutes, a significant decrease from the previous hour and 37 minutes. 9 minutes later, Ship 28 also joined the fueling process. As the visible frost line crept up on the vehicle's propellant tanks, SpaceX initiated its official webcast. This time, one of the hosts was Dan Hout, who was sitting in front of the Mega Bay during the launch. That's quite a place to host a live stream. Roughly 20 minutes before liftoff, the third iteration of the not-quite-orbital Starship began the engine chill. This crucial process involves circulating a tiny amount of propellant through the engines to gradually reduce their temperature. As the countdown approached zero, our excitement surged to its peak, yet so did our anxiety. Thankfully, 32 seconds before liftoff, the flight director reiterated that the launch was approved to proceed. The moment had arrived. The flame deflector sprang to life, dousing the launch pad with water as 33 Raptor engines roared to life, unleashing a force more than double that of the legendary Saturn V moon rocket. With no issues detected, the beast known as Starship was released, and it began its ascent. Finally, the addition of new Starlink antennas allowed us to witness onboard video during liftoff. And wow, what a view it was! I don't think anyone was expecting just how good that system would perform. At T plus 52 seconds, Starship breezed through the max Q phase, where air resistance is at its peak and potential design flaws are most likely to be exposed. 2 minutes and 42 seconds after liftoff, all but 3 Super Heavy Boosters Raptors shut down. Don't worry, that was planned. Moments later, the ship ignited its 3 vacuum engines, followed by the firing of 3 atmospheric Raptors, marking its separation from the booster. As the ship ascended further into space, the booster executed its flip maneuver, powered by 3 engines that remained operational following the most engines cutoff. The maneuver allowed the booster to navigate back toward its designated landing site, in this case, a point in the Gulf of Mexico located about 30 kilometers from the shore. The boost back ended with an engine shutdown 55 seconds later. Upon initial observation, it seemed that the burn had been entirely successful. But if we look a little closer at the shutdown sequence, there may have been some issues. Raptors began to shut down in a circular pattern, but for some reason, that sequence paused for a few seconds before the rest of the engines were turned off. As Booster 10 was near its apogee, it began slow reorientation to the landing position using its vents, which also act as thrusters. To perform a soft water landing, Booster 10 was supposed to reignite some of its engines and use them to decelerate to just 8 meters. We were not told how many Raptors were required to get rid of all that velocity, but it was not just 3. The ignition sequence commenced approximately 1 kilometer above the water, beginning with the activation of a single Raptor engine at the center, followed by 2 engines from the second ring. However, this provided insufficient thrust to decelerate the booster significantly. Instead of touching down at 8 meters, Super Heavy smashed into the Gulf of Mexico at a speed of over 30 meters, or almost 1,000 feet per second. You can call this a water landing. Here is where the illustrious tale of Booster 10 concludes. Yet we must now shift our focus to discussing Ship 28. Things were more enthusiastic here, with all 6 Raptors continuing to fire without an issue. Just 3.5 minutes into the flight, the prototype crossed the international boundary of space, located 100 kilometers or 62 miles above Earth's surface. In the next few minutes, the upper stage of Starship officially outlived its predecessor. Now it was time for the most awaited moment. Yes, you heard it right, engine shutdown. Numerous upgrades added by SpaceX's engineers to this prototype made a difference, as Ship 28 successfully turned off all 6 Raptors without going boom. Now it was time to test out the PEZ dispenser, the payload bay, which was rapidly depressurizing. As everyone was focused on the insane views from the PEZ dispenser, SpaceX initiated the propellant transfer demonstration. It was obvious SpaceX wasn't going to show us the inside of propellant tanks, so all we got was a post on X confirming that the demonstration took place. 6 minutes later, SpaceX attempted to close the payload bay door, which is where the streak of success ended. Around 10 minutes later, Ship 28 began its flip in preparation for its retrograde burn, which was supposed to move its splashdown zone closer to Madagascar. Fortunately, while the flip was successful, SpaceX decided to skip this step and instead focus on collecting data. As Ship 28 reached re-entry, it was definitely on the right trajectory. As we aforementioned, Madagascar passed by below the rocket. At T plus 45 minutes, the prototype moved its flaps into the re-entry position as it continued its descent. The results were very beautiful and also the most bizarre re-entry videos in astronautics history. The re-entry also proved the power of the Starlink constellation. Somehow, the prototype was able to stream live HD video from one of its flaps while the camera was engulfed in plasma. Finally, at around 70 kilometers or 44 miles, the plasma got so intense that the connection dropped. As the mission crossed the 1-hour mark, it was pretty clear that Ship 28 was dead. With both vehicles lost, the FAA has already instructed SpaceX to begin our favorite mishap investigation. Hopefully, it won't take too long this time, as the company already has a backlog of prototypes waiting to be tested. For Elon Musk, we should expect to see at least 6 more launches this year. What's your take on the outcomes of this mission? Was it a complete success, or would you classify it as a failure? Let us know in the comments. That's it for today. Remember to smash that like button and subscribe for more awesome content. This is what fuels the algorithm and helps us immensely. And if you want to train your space IQ even further, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again in the next episode.